Chapter 16 is fairly long, so here we go. With about an hour to go before game time, I walked out to our bullpen and sat down on the bench. I tried to clear my head of all the distractions of the last few days. It was harder than I thought. I hadn't even been in town very long, and so much had happened. And most of the weeks in this long season were going to be as complicated like this one. A heart attack might be unavoidable. I can see why some players choose to be loners. I couldn't be that way. I needed some friends. I wanted friends. I just can't believe that they only worry about themselves, and dealing with just your own little problems is not being a responsible adult. There has to be more. If my father's friends hadn't been around when he was first stricken with polio, I don't know how my mother could have handled it. I realize now that my dad had some truly great friends. After Dad came home from the hospital, he and his friends picked up their weekly Friday pinochle games. A bunch of his musician friends would come over and have jam sessions right in our living room. I can remember Stan Kenton coming to our house and playing right in our living room. I still have Dad's collections of 78s. Arthur Godfrey, Rosemary Clooney, Billie Holiday. Sure loved his music, my father did, and that was something I inherited from him. He finally got to come home from the hospital when they realized that they could do no more for him. A rocking bed was put in the house to help him sleep. The people with the March of Dimes were of great help to my family. My father's death, and then a terrible accident. It was amazing how and where my mind wanders. I sat there gazing out to center field. It might have been the Milky Way for all I knew. I was just staring into space. Dave Bolton came down and plopped himself down on the bench hard, jarring me out of my trance. I need to loosen up a bit, I stayed. I'm going to go run a little bit in the outfield. You can join me if you'd like. Dave and I both got up and started jogging in the outfield, nearly reaching the center field fence. Neither of us spoke the way back. I sure hope that everything turns all right in Disneyland next week. Gloria's coming with, I announced to Dave. You're kidding, he responds. Maybe it's good that she does go and help straighten out this mess herself. I guess it makes sense. But we do have a ball game to win, and that is next week. You're right, I reply, as I start doing some stretching exercises, trying to loosen up my back and shoulders. You're right, I need to be focusing on tonight's game, and not that. I do have to wonder how Chris Tavy is going to take all of this, said Dave with some concern in his voice. You think about it. This could get really ugly next week. If she still loves John, and she is going to be disappointed in herself for not believing in him and giving him the benefit of the doubt. If not, she could care less about him and just be real mad at Gloria for being so selfish. Have you decided where you will meet once you get out there? No, I need to try calling Chris's mom. I've done it 3 times, and each time she refused to discuss the matter with me or even tell Chris that I was calling. There's got to be more than this than I know. Why wouldn't she even discuss it with me? I then tried tracking down her younger brother, which wasn't easy either. I called a bunch of possible numbers, but they were not the right ones. I'm going to try after tonight's game. This is going to be more difficult than I thought. With a little family help from the Tavies, we could get there. I think I may know a connection, said Dave. Have you tried the Miltons in L.A.? You need to start soft tossing, as we have less than 40 minutes toward the game. The Miltons in L.A., I asked with amazement. There must be hundreds of Miltons in L.A., wouldn't you think? The Miltons you're after is Milton as in Judge Henry Milton, said Dave. Go on. We've got to get moving on. I'll be right back, I say, as I just started to head back toward the dugout. Don't start without me. I dash into the clubhouse and hit the phone. Operator, give me Los Angeles. I'm looking for Judge Henry Milton. Do you think he's in the book? I asked, somewhat out of breath. I'm in kind of a hurry. Yes, here it is. 323-445-5678. Did you get that down? Asked the operator. I can connect you if you like. Please do. I'm in a hurry, I reply. Hello, said a male voice at the other end. Hello, I say. This is Bill Allen, calling from Connecticut. Is this the Milton family that is related to Chris Tabby, John Tabby's wife? Yes, this is Doug Milton. I'm Chris's brother. But you know they are getting a divorce, don't you? Said Doug matter-of-factly. What do you want from Chris? It's a little hard to explain over the phone, I reply. I was hoping to come out to California next week and try to explain in person. The whole thing between Chris and John is a big mistake. Someone did a very malicious thing that needs to be corrected, if it can. It's important for Chris to know that some things, and then decide if she wants a divorce. I'm hoping you'll be open-minded enough to help me with this. I quickly filled Doug in with some of the details in hopes of enticing him to help Gloria and I pull this off. Mom can be a piece of work sometimes, as she didn't want Chris to marry the athlete anyway, said Doug. I'll help any way I can, as I always liked John. He was always nice to me. Call me tomorrow on my cell and I'll give you my travel plans. I'll clear my schedule for next Monday and Tuesday and pick you up, and I'll be your taxi service. I'll make arrangements for you to meet up with Chris without telling her anything. How it goes is strictly up to you, as I still have to live here after you leave. Doug, thanks for all your help, I state, thinking that I may have found the key to success. I'm flying out to California late next Sunday evening with the one who caused all this trouble. We would like to see Chris and explain what happened and try to straighten this whole mess out. John has not been handling this well, as he bit my head off the first day I met him. Mom can really be impossible at times as well, said Doug. Dad's a circuit court judge and my brother Jim is an attorney who's handling the divorce. He usually does what Mom wants. I can't really say what Chris's true feelings are, as we haven't spent much time talking about her personal life. She's pretty busy with school right now. Doug, thanks, you're a lifesaver, I say with great appreciation. I will call you tomorrow and give you the details. Listen, I have to go. I have a ball game to pitch tonight. I play with John on the Monarchs. Hey, well, have a great game, said Doug sincerely. Hope John hits one out tonight. So do I repeat. Thanks again, Doug. I really mean it. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I quickly put the receiver back down and rush out to the ball field. Bolton is waiting, but he's not too happy about it. You've got 20 minutes to get loose, said Dave, pretty irritated. Rookies, he said disgustingly. It didn't seem to take very long for me to get loose in the bullpen. It had been a rather warm April day, with the temperature almost reaching 90. Now the temp was 82. At least that's what Mike Adams said the bank display had read on his way in. Usually most bank displays have an accuracy of plus or minus about 20 degrees. The warmth of the night would help me keep my back loose. Within about 25 pitches, I felt pretty good. I told Dave I had enough and went over and put my Monarch jacket on and made my way into the dugout. I spotted Jack Myers sitting next to home plate at the end of the dugout. He had a couple of 3-ring binders next to him and a couple of loose-leaf sheets sitting on top. I sat right next to him. Bill, how do you feel? Said Jack. I wish it had been this warm the night I pitched. I know what you mean, I replied. It's tough to get really loose when the temp's in the 50s. It sure didn't seem to bother you, though. I'm not sure feeling good with that will be enough tonight. I hope it is. Don't worry about it, said Jack with a smile. You'll do just fine. Now listen, about the hitters. Let's go over a few hand signs I'll be using to help you know how to pitch them. Sure, go ahead, I reply. If I give you and Dave a closed fist, that means stay hard stuff. Fastballs and sliders down, began Jack. An open hand means he's more susceptible to off-speed stuff. If I hold my hand close to my chest, that means pitch him tight inside. On top of my head means the hitter has a tendency to chase high hard stuff. It's pretty simple, basically. It's important for you to remember these signs, and Bolton may be setting up and giving you a target different than these signs. We do that early on to make sure the batter is not sneaking a peek where Dave sets up. His mitt position may be just a decoy. Watch for the last spot Dave touches with his throwing hand. That's where he really wants your pitch to be thrown. We don't like peekers. When you and Dave are on your game and guys try to peek, they'll swing and miss by a foot. If your slider's really good tonight, that may happen anyway. Well, I never like to peek myself, I add. I just like to react to what I see. Guessing wrong can be a really bad thing. Bill agreed, replied Jack. But many players here will take any advantage they think they can get. Just work on maintaining good control and putting the ball in the right spot. Dick and I had a long discussion about that, or should I say, I had a long listen with him, I had. Ah, he showed you his Canorama, did he, said Jack. Sometimes it makes sense when you just see it rather than talk about it. He's right on, though. Stay out of Dick's red zone and you'll be just fine. Red decided to bat me ninth to take some pressure off. He had Del Rey playing third again and batting eighth. The lineup read like this: Ross Jones center field, Mike Adams second base, Tavy first base, Bond in right, Andrews at short, Bolton catching, Chris Miller in left, Del Rey at third base, and I'm pitching. I felt good about the game, and especially the way this team was playing. We had been playing great defense. The infield had turned 7 double plays in 3 games. Chris Miller and Ross Jones had made some great catches in the outfield, and even Bolton had been catching well compared to last year when he only threw out 30% of the runners trying to steal. 40% is what coaches look for. It's not always and not usually just the catcher's fault. He was 4 out of 7 this year so far, which is very good. Everyone game by me in the dugout came by and tapped me on the knee and wished me luck. The Monarchs took their positions on the field to the roar of the crowd. I slowly climbed out of the dugout steps and walked leisurely to the mound. I could feel the excitement in the air as my stomach started to tie up in knots a little. I got to the mound and reached down and picked up the baseball in my right hand. I just looked at second. I hadn't realized the umpire was standing right behind me with 3 other baseballs in his hand. "Hey, pitch," he said. "Is that one all right to start the game with, or is one of these your lucky ball?" "Well, let's hope all of them are lucky," I added with a big smile. "This one's going to be okay." "From what I hear, you don't need much luck," replied the ump. He turned and went back home behind the plate. I reached down and picked up the rosin bag to dry the palm of my pitching hand, and then began a little evacuation work on the mound. Not too much, just loosen up enough to get an edge on the rubber to give me something to push off from. Dave crouched behind the plate, and I motioned for him start the slow wind up and throw my first professional warm-up pitch at about 75 miles an hour. After my allotted number of throws, and I increased the speed every time, Dave guns it down to second and we're ready for the real deal. Del gets the ball to third, moves half the way to the mound and throws me the ball and winks. "Go get him, kid," he says. "Just you and Dave tonight." Bolton crouches behind the plate and pounds his fist into his mitt. The umpire yells, "Play ball." This is it, and that batter digs in. I stand with my right foot on the top left area of the rubber, my left foot slightly ahead. I hold the ball slightly and tightly inside my glove, resting it on my left thigh. I look in to get Dave's sign, and he wants a fastball down. I rock back slightly, putting my hand in the glove, rotate the ball slightly to get my 2 fingers running across the 4 seams. I finish rocking back. My hands go over my head. I turn slightly and bring my left knee up to my waist. I turn, I open my hips, thrust my chest toward the plate as my arm goes behind my back, then in an arc over my shoulder and right behind my ear. The muscles in my shoulders quickly increase my arm speed. I whip it as hard as I can toward my plate, and all the time keeping my eyes right on Dave's glove. The ball is released toward home plate as I fully bend at the waist. My right foot comes around and hits the ground to my right as I get set to possibly feel the ball hit back to me. It's now out of my hands and up to the hitter. The ball rockets to home plate right where Dave called for it, knee-high on the outside black of the plate, to the right-handed hitter for the Cubs. The ball snaps into Dave's mitt. "Strike 1, yells the umpire. Dave fires the ball back to me, and I turn to the roar of the crowd and walk back to the top of the mound and look at the scoreboard that now reads, "No balls, 1 strike, no outs." To the left is a radar gun display. 98, it says. The crowd is really going crazy. I guess I really did get loose. Quickly in the pen, I thought. "Come on, Billy," yells a fan in the first row. Behind the dugout, 2 more. "Come on, big guy." The crowd is chanting, "Billy, Billy, Billy." I feel somewhat embarrassed, but it sure felt good to be on the mound again. I look into the dugout and see Myers just clapping his hands with a smile on his face. I get another sign from Bolton, the same thing on the inside, down low this time. I throw another rocket to the plate, right where he wanted it. The batter jumps back a little bit as he thought it was inside, but it wasn't. "Strike 2, bellowed the umpire. The crowd rises to their feet, wanting a strikeout really bad. The noise level is crazy now. I realize I must really be pumped as Myers holds up a sign in the dugout that reads 99. Get out, I thought. I look up at the scoreboard and it says the same thing. I turn around and look in and get another sign from Bolton. He wants a curveball inside this time. It makes sense as the Cub hitter was leaning back at the last inside fastball. It really makes his knees buckle this time. I rock back and fire a curveball that strikes right for his left shoulder and then darts down 3 feet to the left, about 5 inches just across the inside black. The batter's knees do buckle and he rocks back in fear that it might just be a fastball. It's too late for him to even start to swing. Strike 3, yells the umpire, with a big pull of his right arm to his side and back, almost like a martial arts fighter. The crowd goes nuts as the batter walks back to the dugout, shaking his head. Bolton fires a ball down to Del Rey at third, and the infield flips it around and back to me on the mound. Someone behind the dugout brought a supply of 1-foot square signs with a capital K on them. He puts the first one up on the fence in front of them. "Attaboy, Billy," yells Red from the dugout. 26 more, he yells, with a big grin on his face. Yeah, right, I think to myself, who's he kidding?